Tomo is a muscle-brained gorilla baddie who is in love with her childhood best friend, even though he literally thinks she is a boy. To change this, she finds the courage to confess her feelings, hoping he'll finally see her as a girl, but he just asks her where the hidden camera is. The day after the failed confession, she got ready to go to school and got flustered when she saw Junichiro waiting for her outside. As they walked to school in awkward silence, Tomo recalled how they grew up together as next-door neighbors who attended different schools. But when they finally started attending the same school, he asked her why he was using a skirt, making Tomo realize that he always thought she was a dude. This assumption had him spanking her rice cakes like a bro, and she too didn't beat the allegations with her gorilla punch. Later at school, Tomo complained to her friend Masuzu on how she'd always wanted to ride Junichiro instead of a bicycle. When she asked for advice, Masuzu rubbed all her past actions on her face. She'd always played games with the guys, as well as beating up people from other schools like she was some part-time Tokyo Revengers. Tomo even begged Masuzu not to treat her like a guy too, and Masuzu said she couldn't since she was packing gigantic watermelons that made her plot covers suffer. Masuzu then advised her to try talking like a girl, but when she tried it on their way to lunch, Junichiro said she sounded like an old man, causing them to start fighting. When he held her shirt, he almost exposed plots which earned him an uppercut. When she got home, her father noticed the bruises on her face, but instead of treating her like a princess, he asked if she won the fight and got frustrated when Tomo said Junichiro won. He argued that as the head of their family dojo, she wasn't supposed to be cannon fodder, but Tomo blamed him for teaching Junichiro karate, which he practiced on her. Later that day in school, Masuzu asked why Tomo always ate lunch with her instead of Junichiro. Tomo said it'll look like a date and get other people talking, but since she'd obviously like to eat with Junichiro, Masuzu went downstairs to sit with him. Of course, Junichiro didn't like the low-budget Wednesday Addams ruining his day, but he calmed down when Tomo joined. During class, Tanabe, Junichiro's friend, asked if he and Tomo had started doing secret bedroom exercises. The clueless virgin assumed he was talking about karate and said they'd been going at it since they were little. Tanabe added that she had nice thighs, and Junichiro innocently said it was true. On hearing this, the snitch, Mizusu then snuck out to tell Tomo how Junichiro told Tanabe they've been developing plot, so she stormed into the classroom to reset his slow brain. Mizusu also went to clear the air to Tanabe that Junichiro and Tomo had no romantic feelings with each other. Tanabe called Cap, saying he'd make them reveal their feelings for each other, but Mizuzu made it clear she was the only meddling friend in the weird duo friendship. When school ended, Junichiro and Masuzu bumped into each other while waiting out the rain because they didn't bring their umbrellas. As they waited, Masuzu wondered why Junichiro hated her, and he recalled how they used to play together and to prank people, but she always escaped when they got scolded. When she asked why he never joined any club, he said he wasn't interested because the clubs weren't mixed, and he wouldn't have fun without Tomo. On hearing this, Masuzu realized that he actually saw Tomo as a girl. In fact, when they first started going to school together, Junichiro realized that Tomo was a girl when he saw her in a skirt for the first time. But he decided to continue treating her as a boy because of how silly he would look by noticing she's a girl after knowing her for so many years, so he continues pretending to this day. Mizusu then asked what he'd do if Tomo got a boyfriend who'd sink his head in her gigantic chesticles. This annoyed Junichiro, so he pushed her in the rain. As things got intense, Tomo showed up out of the blue. Junichiro then asked to share her umbrella, but Tomo asked Masuzu to share it with her instead. Masuzu reminded Tomo it'll be perfect to cozy up with Junichiro, and even though she was freaking out, she agreed. However, she kept her distance from him and lied that she smelled like your grandma's socks. When Junichiro tried to smell her, he got too close and had her freaking out until she ran away from embarrassment. He then chased after her to give her the umbrella, but the moment he saw her plots through her wet dress, he ran away before his mind crazed for her jugs. Sometime later, Tomo poured out her anger on Misaki during karate practice. She immediately apologized since he was her senior, but he said he didn't mind as long as she felt comfortable in the guys' club. When he asked why she didn't practice at the girls' club instead, Tomo revealed the girls saw her as a freak of nature. She said she'd failed at becoming a proper girl, but Misaki argued that she was actually charming. On hearing this, Tomo wanted to know what he found charming about her, but bro was so distracted by her plots that he said everything she had was charming, adding that she only needed to be confident. As they talked in front of the school, some girls stalking Misaki even mistook Tomo for a guy until they saw her extra-large chesticles shooting out. The following day, Masuzu told Junichiro that Tomo had made a guy friend that wasn't him. He acted Sigma like he didn't care, but the moment Tomo arrived, he immediately asked her about Misaki. Later that day, the two stalker NPCs approached Tomo like they had some beef with her. She immediately told them she was ready to fight, and as she squeezed her juice can with an arm, they felt their life flash before their eyes. When they later asked people about Tomo, they learned that she was a monster they had to apologize to. When they met up at the back of the school, Tomo did a kung fu pose while the girls pissed their pants. Eventually, they summoned the courage and revealed that they like Misaki and wanted some tips about him. On hearing this, Tomo became unusually happy and promised to help them because at least they recognized her as a girl. While she told Masuzu what happened, the girls were secretly spying on her because she'd captivated them. But when Junichiro dragged her away, they snapped back to reality that they were being mesmerized by a girl. One day on the bus, Junichiro and Tomo sat so awkwardly close to each other that she had to stand before her floodgates burst open from excitement. As the bus got full, a 50-year-old degenerate started moving funny behind her. Although she was uncomfortable, she didn't want to worry Junichiro, so she held herself from crying. Fortunately, Junichiro noticed this and almost ruined the fat fool's face with his angry fist. As they walked home, all Tomo could think was how he was finally treating her like a woman. Not wanting the encounter to repeat itself, Junichiro suggested that she stop wearing skirts to school. At school, she didn't even care about the harassment and was more freaked out because Junichiro said he couldn't focus when she wore skirts. She thought he was simply making fun of her, but Misuzu drew her attention to how non-existent her skirt was on her thick thighs. When she suggested Tomo wore actual undies instead of shorts, Tomo freaked out like it was weird. Misuzu then revealed she sometimes went commando, which had Tomo staring at her in disgust. Next, she told Junichiro to catch up with Tomo, who was about to head home without her signature shorts.
Yeah, boy.
When Junichiro saw her thighs, he had to slap himself back to reality before acting like he didn't see nothing. As they walked, he tried to make up small talks, but Bro kept looking away from temptation until he had bumped an innocent pole. Once inside the bus, Junichiro became a vigilante who scanned the area for potential degenerate eye strippers. The following day, Junichiro kept walking fast like he was avoiding her, and just as she grabbed him to stop, a cultured wind blew her skirt up, causing Junichiro to pass out. In school, Tomo revealed how Junichiro fainted when he saw her underwear, so Misuzu immediately went to tease him for being a weak man. She managed to convince him to stop avoiding Tomo, and he actually started acting normal with her again. Just then, a bouncy plot Barbie called Carol showed up in school and made all the guys treat her like she was the Holy Grail. Seeing that she had all the guys hooked, Tomo wanted to know if she could be like that, so Misuzu told her to stop pumping iron in class. Misuzu added that she had to act like a defenseless princess, but that didn't sit well with the gorilla. While walking in the hallway, Tomo ran into the bouncy melon and Masaki, and they revealed that they are actually betrothed to get married. When Masaki asked if Carol ever talked to Tomo in class, she said she doesn't talk to guys, causing Tomo to freak out. Masaki had to explain that she was a clueless doll who had got extra large melons instead of brains, so she acted dense most times. All through the day, Carol kept showing up and calling Tomo a dummy, but Tomo had no clue what she did to the doll. Later, she went to Misuzu and asked what she could do to defeat Tomo, so Misuzu decided to direct her to Junichiro. She then showed up in Junichiro's locker in the guys' changing room, and when he finally got her out, she said she wanted to defeat someone, and Junichiro simply assumed it had to be a fistfight. However, when he prepped her, she was weaker than a kitten. He then promised to help her train, so the blonde Barbie started following him around, much to Tomo's annoyance. When she complained to Misuzu, the con artist made sure to gaslight her into thinking Junichiro was dating Carol. Meanwhile, Junichiro tried to train Carol, but she couldn't do any exercise except jump rope because she loved bunnies. When she demonstrated, her jiggly plots made him almost pass out. Just then, Tomo walked into them rehearsing and freaked out on the awkward situation. When she saw Tomo getting angry at Junichiro, she finally understood that Tomo wasn't interested in her man, so she left them alone. She then took Misuzu out to get cakes and said she wanted to be friends because she didn't have any. Misuzu suggested she makes friends with Tomo, adding that Tomo was too nice to a fault. Later in school, she wanted to ask Tomo to be her friend, but she hesitated because people didn't treat her nicely. However, when she asked Tomo, she agreed without hesitation, much to her surprise. Seeing how carefree Tomo was, she thought of her as an angel, and even Misuzu agreed to be friends with her, only because having a rich friend is convenient. That afternoon, after hearing about their past relationship from Junichiro, Tomo confronted Misuzu, who told her that they did not inform her because their relationship lasted for only 3 miserable days. She revealed that when Junichiro had asked her out, she only accepted because a lot of baddies had been eyeballing him, and she wanted to crush their tiny hearts. However, the second day of their relationship turned out to be a disaster when Junichiro had made her ride her bicycle for 2 hours for a date just to show her a stupid mountain view. Misuzu had lost a lot of weight during those 3 days, so she decided to break it off, because Junichiro was a lot to handle. However, when she went to call it quits, Junichiro was the one who first told her that she was not built to handle his macho lifestyle and that they should just be buddies. This shocked and angered her because she wanted to be the one who ended the relationship. After hearing this, Tomo asked Misuzu if she still had feelings for Junichiro and if they had developed plot. However, Misuzu reassured her that they did not have any suckface action but had only held hands once. On their way home, Tomo grilled Junichiro, asking if he still had feelings for Misuzu. Jun then confirmed that he had none, and apologized for keeping it a secret from her. The next day at school, they were approached by the cute Masaki, who, to Junichiro's surprise, was a guy. Feeling threatened, Junichiro gave him a karate chop on the head instead of a handshake, which angered Tomo, who gave him a punch and made him apologize. However, after the apology, Junichiro challenged Masaki to a karate duel and promised to crush him like a cookie, prompting Tomo to almost choke him out for embarrassing her. Later at their lockers, Junichiro asked why she was friends with the captain of the boys' karate club. She then revealed that she had no diffed the girls at the club and had to be moved into the men's squad. After school that day, Junichiro asked if they could walk home together, but she refused and told him that she had plans with Carol and Masuzu, which made him sad. However, he made her promise that they would walk home together the next day. Meanwhile, Carol and Masuzu, who watched the exchange, wondered why the two idiots were not dating. Sometime later, Junichiro and Misaki ran into each other at the park. Junichiro, remembering Tomo's threat to break his back if he did not act nicely to Misaki, tried to make small talk, but Misaki was initially scared of him. After getting on the bus, Misaki asked Junichiro to join the school karate club, but Junichiro angrily declined. However, he added that Tomo was there, and he did not want to lose to her because she was stronger than him at karate. Misaki then told him that Tomo had said Junichiro was stronger than her. This led Junichiro to tell him that when they fought normally, he would win, but in a karate match, she would whoop his cheeks. This information terrified Misaki, who scolded Junichiro for fighting her normally, reminding him that Tomo was a girl and her chest was not a punching bag. However, Junichiro pointed out that Tomo took fighting too seriously and would attack him as if they were in a do-or-die situation, but that he admired her and wished to be like her. Just then, Misaki realized that Junichiro also admired Tomo, but Junichiro scared him, threatening that if he breathed a word of their conversation to Tomo, he would gut him like a fish. The next day at the dojo, Tomo told Misaki that she had heard that he and Junichiro had taken the bus together. She was glad that they were now friends and started praising Junichiro, telling him that despite him acting scary, he was a good guy. However, Misaki was a wuss who did not have the heart to tell her he was scared of Junichiro as well. After practice, Tomo confided in Misaki that Junichiro did not see her as a girl, but only as one of his bros. Misaki denied this, but as he was about to explain, Junichiro appeared like a pimple and threatened him. Meanwhile, Tomo saw this and misunderstood, thinking the bros were just bonding. The next day at a cafe, Tomo surprised Misaki's cheer squad, who had previously been talking about how handsome she looked, even as a girl. However, when they saw her in trousers, their minds were blown. After the girls left the cafe, Misuzu asked Tomo if she had hung out with Junichiro recently. Tomo revealed that they had not hung out because her feelings for him made their outings awkward. However, Misuzu advised her to hang out with Junichiro before some random shawties stole him away. She also advised her to take him out to a new place, like a karaoke bar and not the bowling alley or batting center, where they normally acted like bros. Tomo was worried that Junichiro would not like the idea, but Misuzu assured her that Junichiro would do anything she wanted, like a dog. The next day at school, she casually asked him if they could hang out over the weekend, and he got so excited and began radiating golden retriever energy as if she had permitted him to play fetch. Later that day, Misuzu advised Tomo to see the hangout with Junichiro as a date. Just then, they were joined by Carol, who helped convince Tomo that she should get some cute girls' clothes for the date, because all the ones she had were for middle-aged men. That afternoon at a store, Tomo was stunned when she saw the dresses on display. Carol and Misuzu decided that getting her to quit dressing like a hobo would overwhelm Junichiro, and instead decided to get her some dresses that would make her look appealing to him. That weekend, she met up with Junichiro and they headed to the batting center. While they were there, they began playing like bros again, which annoyed her. But just as she was thinking, Junichiro challenged her to hit a hard ball, which she did after she locked in. Then they went to the bowling alley, and soon she realized the entire outing was just becoming like the others. However, after he challenged her to bowl with a heavier ball and she knocked down the pins, she shyly asked him if he wanted to go to a karaoke bar. Surprisingly, he agreed, but when they got there, things got awkward because the karaoke room was small and dark. Just then, Tomo began to have dirty thoughts, but he interrupted her fantasy and asked her to sing. At first, she refused, but when he told her that since they were younger, every activity he did with her turned out to be fun, she picked up the mic and began to sing on a note that did not exist. It was so bad that Junichiro recorded her dying wails and began to laugh, thanking her for such a show. The next day at school, she confided in Misuzu and Carol about how the date went, but they teased her and then went to meet Junichiro to ask if they could see the video. The next day, on the way to school, Misuzu was approached by Tanabe, who tried to riz her, but she ignored him like a random filler character. Later at school, Tanabe told Junichiro that he had never seen Misuzu smile, but Junichiro disagreed and told him that she smiled like a Disney villain. Moments later, Tomo joined the conversation and became sad because she thought that Misuzu and Junichiro were still an item. During the break, Tanabe tried to make Misuzu laugh, but she threatened to give him a third nostril with her mechanical pencil if he didn't scram, and ended up sealing his mouth with tape Tanabe left, and met Carol in the hallway, whose lips had also been sealed by Misuzu. Carol eventually met Tomo, and after the tape had been removed, she explained that Misuzu did it to her because she had tried to give her some lip service. Meanwhile, Tanabe approached Misuzu again like a broken record, asking why she never smiled, but she immediately saw through him and asked if he liked her. When he said he did, she asked him to approach her seriously, promising she would then reject him with a smile. However, as she walked away, her response only made him fall even harder. Later in class, Tomo confronted Misuzu over the fact that she smiled every time she spoke with Junichiro and asked if she had feelings for him. Misuzu shocked her by jokingly agreeing that she did, but as she explained, she smiled, and Tomo realized it was the creepy smile Junichiro had mentioned, the one that belonged in a psych ward. Moments afterward, Tomo saw a girl hug another from behind and casually told Misuzu that she wanted to try it out. Tomo then suggested that since they had known each other from way younger, younger, they should be able to hug. She insisted that they do it just once, even if they connected the tips of their melons. But this weirded out Masuzu, who refused to hug her. However, later that day, Carol offered a hug to Tomo, who, after hugging her, began to feel awkward due to how soft Carol's chest was. This caused Tomo to start hugging all the girls she could find to check if other girls' chests excited her, but Carol managed to discourage that spirit before it took off and began hugging her the way she had initially wanted. The next day at school, after Carol had hugged her, Junichiro and Tomo noticed Masuzu was colder than usual, which made Tomo think that Masuzu was mad at her. Carol, understanding that Masuzu was jealous, felt it was her fault and apologized by slamming her head on the table. However, Masuzu explained that Carol was not at fault, and later that day she apologized to Tomo for acting like a douche. She asked that she would like them to try hugging, even though she hated physical contact. After they hugged awkwardly, Masuzu suggested that Tomo should hug Junichiro, explaining that Junichiro was clingy and would not mind. After school, Tomo spotted Junichiro and snuck up on him, but when she hugged him from behind, he froze because of the blood rushing to his second head, and then scolded her, saying she was not a brat anymore. This angered Tomo, who pointed out that Junichiro did this to her all the time. Junichiro, acting like a little roach, told her that it was cool for only him to do so, which earned him a punch from Tomo. Meanwhile, Carol and Masuzu witnessed the interaction and wondered how brain-dead they could both get. The next day, Tomo woke up and was shocked when she found Junichiro in her room, watching her like a serial killer. She immediately screamed and kicked him. Moments later, they met Tomo's mother in the hallway, who had been woken up by their loud noises. After she scolded Junichiro, they went to have breakfast. The meal, however, was like a lab experiment gone wrong, but when Tomo told him that she made it, he decided to try it out. As he ate, he casually asked about Tomo's dad, but her mother, Akemi, revealed that her dad spent most of his time at the dojo. She soon began to lament that it had been months since he had rearranged her guts. Later at the dojo, her dad scolded them for coming late, but just then her mom appeared and told him that it was her fault that they were late, and casually patted his chest. This made her dad go haywire, and then he passed out because blood had left his brain and gone to his second head. After this, Tomo thought her parents were lame, but Junichiro told her that it was cool that her dad was still in love with her mom. This made her recall that her dad had always been by her mom's side, even when they were both low-budget villains in school. The next day at school, Carol and Masuzu suggested that Tomo should eat alone with Junichiro that day, with Carol even giving her a hairpiece as a good luck charm. While Masuzu and Carol were having lunch on the rooftop, Masaki approached them. After Carol introduced Masuzu as a friend, Masaki gratefully took her hands to thank her. When Masuzu noted how much Carol clearly meant to him, Masaki agreed, but clarified that he viewed Carol as a precious little sister. He then brushed some food crumbs from her massive chest and left. Carol then pointed out that, like Junichiro, Masaki did not see her as the hot shoddy that she was. Carol, on the other hand, had feelings for him and asked Masuzu for advice. After lunch break, the girls from Masaki's cheer squad came to Tomo for help, because a popular playboy had asked one of them out. However, Tomo became enraged when they revealed that he always bullied girls who turned him down. Later that day, behind the school, Tomo stood ahead of them and rejected the douchebag on their behalf. However, the dunce called her Gorlock the Destroyer and told her to skedaddle. This made her so mad that she told them she was going to break his third leg. The girls, on the other hand, just wanted it to be peaceful, but the moron then made fun of them, called them easy peasy, and threatened to get them back for rejecting him. Tomo, in the meantime, got angry that she kicked him so hard he flew away like a paper kite, but before landing like a discarded tissue on the floor. She then promised that she would protect them from the gutter rat and walked away, leaving the girls swooning over how manly she acted. Later that day, the bully met with his minions and planned to attack Tomo, but unfortunately for them, Junichiro, who was nearby, overheard the conversation and kicked the douchebag again before introducing himself. Later that day, Tomo was shocked when the injured bullies knelt and apologized to her. As she went home that day, she told Junichiro about it, but she also noted that he was injured as well. However, he lied and said he had fallen, which led her to tease him that he had always been falling since they were young. A few days later, Carol invited Masuzu and Tomo to her home, and when they went to find it, they had to use a map she had drawn. Soon, they arrived at a huge gate to a gigantic mansion. While they were there, a woman who looked like Carol spawned and asked them what they were doing at her gate. After they had introduced themselves, the woman was surprised that Tomo was a girl, and initially thought they had come to diddle Carol, but when she noticed the ginormous melons on her, she immediately welcomed them in. While they headed to the house, they realized that the woman was Carol's mother, and that she was just as scatterbrained as her daughter. When they got to the mansion, Carol and her mother began to hug as if doing that would increase their brain cells. Then she hugged Tomo, but Masuzu refused the hug and even unbraided her hair when Carol pointed out that they were twining with their braids. Afterwards, Carol showed them her bedroom, which looked like a 5-star hotel, and kept Tomo saying, "Wow," like a police siren. Later, Carol showed off her baby pictures, which led Tomo to ask why she always wore ribbons in her photos. Carol told her that the ribbons were like cherries on her, because she was like a pudding. Meanwhile, Misuzu, who got tired of listening to this brain rot, got up to use the bathroom but found out that Carol's mother had been listening to them. As she went to the bathroom, her mother followed her like a zombie until Misuzu confronted her. Carol's mother, however, asked why she was mean earlier and if she was a bad girl. Misuzu, using the chance, teased her and said she was friends with Carol just for her money. This surprisingly cracked up Carol's mother, who thought Misuzu was cute. Meanwhile, in Carol's room, Tomo and Carol played a game called Othello, but Tomo lost. When Misuzu returned, she bragged about being a pro player, but to their surprise, Carol whooped her cheeks as well. That evening, as they left, Carol's mother hugged both of them and invited them to come again. But then she went to hug Carol again, as if she had been missing for days. The next day at school, Tomo panicked and asked Misuzu for help, because they had midterms the next day. Misuzu suggested that they hold a study group at her house. Just then, Carol appeared and asked if she could join them. After they agreed, Junichiro appeared as well and offered to tutor Tomo, but Misuzu shot down his offer when she pointed out that she was ranked first in the school's midterms and was better qualified to teach Tomo. After school, they went to Misuzu's house. On the way, Tomo told her that she had not pushed her to date Junichiro recently, but Misuzu leaned on her and told her that she would soon continue. At Misuzu's house, Tomo told Carol that Misuzu had banned her from visiting when they were younger and could not remember why. This angered Misuzu, who reminded her that Tomo kept breaking things like a klutz around the house and warned her to be on her best behavior that day. As they studied, Misuzu's mother came home and saw Tomo's shoes outside. Thinking Misuzu finally had a boyfriend, she went in to investigate but found Tomo, who she recognized as Akemi's daughter, and Carol, who stunned her by calling her cute. Later, as they continued studying, Tomo complained about a hard equation, but as Misuzu tried to help her, Carol effortlessly provided the answer. Misuzu was surprised because it was correct and asked her how she solved it in her head. Carol began explaining like a drunken sailor, but surprisingly, Tomo understood her explanation. This triggered Misuzu, who explained to them that steps were important in solving that equation. But when they refused to listen, she pulled out a book just in case she had to whip them into submission. After a while, Misuzu had finally gotten basic math through their thick skulls, which made Tomo praise her and thank her for getting a numbnut like her to understand. Then, she revealed that she followed her to this school, even though it was hard, and wished to follow her to any university because they were best friends. The next day after the test, Tomo passed and came in 70. When Junichiro saw this, he began to brag because he came in 50. However, Misuzu surprisingly ranked second, and they were shocked to find out that first place had gone to Carol, who they thought had the IQ of a plastic chair. Later that day, Junichiro told Tomo that he had bought her a video game that she wanted, which led her to remember that he had been a gamer when they first met. However, Junichiro did not like being called that and began to poke her playfully. Then, he invited her to his house so that they could play games all through the night. At first, Tomo agreed, but later, when she told Misuzu, she realized she was going to be sleeping at Junichiro's house that night. Realizing that things might get awkward because of her feelings for him, she decided that she would call the playdate off. However, Misuzu and Carol convinced her not to because they had a plan. After school, she told Junichiro that they would meet at his home later, so that Carol and Misuzu could help cook up a plan for the night. That night, before she left home, she told her mother she was going over to Junichiro's. Her mother, however, thought she was going for a pounding session and began to think of baby names. Meanwhile, to her surprise, her dad just gave her the go-ahead and told her not to make trouble. When she arrived at Junichiro's house, he informed her that his parents were not around, which surprised her because there was no adult stopping them from playing Doctor if they wanted to. After they had eaten dinner, Junichiro asked her if she wanted to take a bath, but Tomo started having dirty thoughts about him and decided to take only a light shower. Meanwhile, as she was taking the shower, Junichiro's plot was thickening, so he smacked himself to reverse the blood flow back from his second head. After she was done bathing, she noticed his face was red, but went on to dry her hair. Immediately after she was done, he asked her to play the game with him. Soon they began to play soccer, and after Junichiro whooped her, he began to offer some coaching, but then Tomo called him a gamer brat again, which led to them playfully wrestling. Just as the wrestling was about to become cultured footage, Junichiro stopped and challenged her to another match. However, when it got to 10 p.m., they were tired and decided to call it an end for the day and go to bed. As they laid down, Tomo was disappointed that she did not ride his magic train, but Junichiro interrupted her dirty thoughts and asked her if they would always be like this. Just then, she decided to confess again, but Junichiro had fallen asleep. Rather than go to bed, Tomo began playing with his face, which made him get up and grab her. Soon, he put her in a chokehold and bent her booty close to his cannon, just in case she teased him again. However, the next morning when he woke up, he realized what had happened and panicked, which made her wake as well and tease him when she saw him in his awkward position. The next day, after saying goodbye, she realized that she had actually had fun. However, things between her and Junichiro were super awkward for a whole week. A few days later, Junichiro gifted Tomo a pair of dark shades for her birthday. Tomo then wore glasses and teased him because she was now older than him. Junichiro, however, ignored her because she always did this on her birthday. At school, she met with Misuzu and also teased her as well, but Misuzu got her back by gifting her some textbooks. Just then, Carol stunned her when she entered the class and gave her a gigantic gold bar. Tomo, however, refused the gift because it was too much, which led Misuzu to have an idea and ask Tomo to spend the next day with them, so they could remove her stud attributes. Later that day at Misuzu's house, they began dressing her up. But then Tomo accidentally rizzed up Misuzu, who immediately handed over the makeup kit to Carol. After a while, they succeeded in transforming her into a 10 out of 10 baddie that simps would battle over her feet pics for. Then they advised her to stop using so much bro slang and speak like an actual girl. After they had done all this, they decided to unleash her as a test weapon on guys by asking her to get some ice cream for them. Tomo initially refused, but Misuzu kicked her to the curb and slammed the door shut. Later, at a convenience store, Tomo was accidentally turning small heads and thickening rods when Junichiro saw her and froze because his brain cells couldn't process what he saw. Meanwhile, she sneaked away, hoping that he didn't recognize her, but bro was so shook he began to doubt his eyes. Unfortunately, she tripped outside the door because of her heels, but Junichiro went to help her up and confirm if that was actually Tomo. After he helped her up, she was surprised at how soft he acted, and shyly asked him to escort her home. On the way, Junichiro concluded that this wasn't Tomo because Tomo was shorter, forgetting she wore heels. However, Junichiro complimented her and called her pretty, which made her blush. But just as they passed a field with an ongoing soccer game, they noticed a skilled player, and Tomo started cheering for her like a wild horse. Junichiro then noted that she acted just like Tomo and confided in her that she reminded him of his best friend. However, when she asked if he liked his best friend, he told her he did not know, but just wanted to beat her. Tomo, frustrated at his answer, was about to reveal her identity when he asked her if the ice cream she bought hadn't melted. This made her panic and run off, leaving him wondering if that was Tomo. When she returned to Misuzu's home, she caught them decorating and realized that they had planned a secret birthday party for her. Later, as she ate the cake, they asked how the outing had gone. She then told them that she had met Junichiro the next day. When Junichiro saw Tomo, he grabbed her cheeks and began to stretch them just to verify if she was the one. And when she punched him, he accepted it happily, knowing that only Tomo could punch like that. Later that day at school, Tomo went full demon mode during dodgeball practice, and the coach had to move her to the boys' team for a dodgeball tournament. This move excited Junichiro, who was happy that he could play with her as a teammate. At the tournament, their first game was against the third-year student, whom Junichiro had thrashed earlier for threatening Tomo. When the team saw Tomo and Junichiro, they instantly gave up. The next game was against the second-year students led by Masaki, but when Masaki saw the two monsters they would be playing against, he warned his teammates to be careful. However, they didn't understand why he was so afraid until the first ball sent him to the Shadow Realm. While they rested after the match, Tanabe came to warn them that a new challenger had appeared, called Goma, who had trashed the other squads. Meanwhile, Misuzu and Carol had already lost their competitions and wondered how Junichiro and Tomo were doing before deciding to check on them. Later, just before the final match started, they met Goma the gorilla, who told Tomo that she did not interest him because she was a cute little girl. This excited her, and she pointed it out to Junichiro with several slaps. Goma instead challenged Junichiro that if he won, Junichiro would have to join the school's judo club. Junichiro accepted his challenge but could not come up with anything to ask in return, which made Tomo tease him. As the game began, Tanabe tried to aura farm and impress Misuzu, but he was yeeted to the wall by a ball from Goma. As they tried to wake him up, Goma then promised everyone that they would get his balls on their faces. As the game continued, Goma whooped the small fries on their team, and when Tomo fired a shot at him, he caught it like it was a gentle baby before returning it like a giant flying Rasengan towards her. Junichiro, however, took the back shot for her, which caused her to enter rage mode. Then she threw her own dodgeball at Goma, but just before it hit him, it diverted and went behind him to Tanabe, who casually threw it at the gorilla, which earned them the victory. After the award ceremony, Misuzu, Tomo, and Carol were walking towards the class, where Misuzu noted that she didn't look too happy. Tomo then told her that it felt like they were back to being bros again, and that was what worried her. Meanwhile, Goma the gorilla, being a sore loser, approached Junichiro and challenged him to a judo duel. However, Junichiro accepted and destroyed him, but Bro didn't accept defeat and asked for one more. So Junichiro began to clap him in the judo hall until evening. After a long day of breaking his back, Junichiro established dominance, and Goma the gorilla accepted his loss, but then was curious why Junichiro never went for any tournaments since he was so strong. Junichiro then told him that he was trying to beat someone whom he had admired for a long time, but now he didn't know what to do. Later that day, as they went home, Tomo asked about the fight with Goma. Junichiro told her that he had lost, but then also revealed that he believed that she could beat him. As they continued walking, he remembered the match and realized he wanted to become a person like Tomo. The next day, while Junichiro exercised, he recalled how he had first met Tomo. He had been a brat who had just moved from Tokyo. One day, while he was playing games on the balcony, Tomo jumped over the fence like a monkey to say hello. At first, she was curious about Tokyo, where he had lived, but he did not care and only wanted to beat Tetris. However, she grabbed his Game Boy and, despite his warnings, broke it by accident. This made him so mad that he punched her lights out, but when she recovered, she told him to hit her even harder. That evening, Tomo returned with her dad to see him. Junichiro was frightened and thought he was about to receive a legendary whooping. However, her father apologized for his daughter's behavior and promised to buy him a new Game Boy. Just then, Tomo's mom, Akemi, came in and scolded them for frightening Junichiro and apologized. But when he saw her ginormous chest, all his fears vanished. After they had left, Tomo asked to be his friend and soon they began to play together. However, she was always extreme, and he was always injured when he played with her. Soon she introduced him to her other best friend, Misuzu, whom he disliked from the start because she had called him a local brat. One day they had gone beetle hunting and Tomo informed them that the beetles would be at the top of some mountain stairs. However, as Junichiro kept climbing, he began to wonder what type of monster Tomo was, as she kept up easily and even carried Misuzu, who began to rage bait Junichiro from her back. After running up the stairs so as not to look like a wuss, he collapsed at the top, which made Misuzu tease him for being a loser. Tomo saw this interaction and happily thought her new friends were bonding. Later, they began hunting for beetles, and when Tomo found one, she showed it to Junichiro. Soon, Junichiro began to smile, which made Tomo happy because he had always been a mopey crybaby. But Misuzu was jealous because she felt he was trying to steal her friend. As the days passed, Junichiro was finally able to keep up with her games without ending up in a wheelchair, and began to enjoy spending time with her. However, one day, two bullies took his Game Boy from him. When Tomo and Misuzu came to see him, they noticed he looked manhandled. Junichiro lied and told them that he had fallen down the stairs, causing Misuzu to tease him. But Tomo did not buy the excuse and figured out the truth. That evening, she returned injured with his Game Boy and told him that she had found it on the ground. Junichiro did not buy her sob story and attacked her, angrily asking why she risked her life for it, but she overpowered him and put him in a chokehold. She then told him that she had just wanted to help. This made him cry because he realized he was too weak to return the favor if she ever needed it. Junichiro then gave her the Game Boy and made a promise that he would take it back when he becomes stronger than her. Then he went to meet her dad to train so he could become strong like Tomo. Presently, Tomo had beaten the game and wondered when Junichiro was going to take it from her, as he had already become stronger than she was. Some days later, while they had bought some swimsuits for Tomo, Misuzu cooked up a plan to get Tomo and Junichiro together. However, it required them to go to the beach, which they decided to do. At the beach, Carol and Misuzu changed into their swimsuits, but Junichiro refused to look at any of them so that his dragon would not arise. However, when he asked after Tomo, they told him she was hiding. When he found her, he noticed she was wearing a hoodie. Just as he tried to help her take it off, her chest jiggled into his sight like a pop-up ad. This made him so stressed that he zipped her back up while Misuzu and Carol watched the scene and laughed at them. Later, as Tomo finally got comfortable at the beach, Junichiro avoided her. He sat next to Misuzu, who angrily realized he was not worried about her because she did not have bouncing balloons and could not wake up his sleeping dragon. Just then, Tomo came and dragged him off to play. As she did, she buried his arm in her chest, causing his brain to short circuit. When Misuzu saw this, she was impressed because Tomo was acting like a proper girl at that moment. While they played around at the beach, Carol angered Tomo when she playfully put Junichiro's hand near her chest, causing Tomo to throw water at them. After a while, Carol left to sit beside Misuzu and asked why Junichiro was actively avoiding her and Tomo. Misuzu then revealed to her that it was because of their chests, explaining that Junichiro was a sucker for massive bazungas. Meanwhile, Tomo was approached by a random hippie who tried to rizz her up and get her to follow him so he could explore her plot. However, as he tried to force her to follow him, Junichiro appeared like a knight and scared him off. Tomo was excited when he did this, but then Junichiro killed her vibe when he apologized for helping and told her he did not want people to think they were a couple. Just then, Carol, who was surrounded by an army of lechers, called out to Junichiro for help. After he pulled her away, she playfully told the lechers that he was her boyfriend, and to Tomo's shock, Junichiro did not deny it. Later, while she playfully choked Carol for pulling a stunt like that, Misuzu advised that if she wanted to be a couple with Junichiro, she should try and get as close to him as possible that day. Taking Misuzu's advice, Tomo went to get some ice cream for both of them, and after she had given it to him, she sat close to him as they both licked their ice creams. Meanwhile, Junichiro panicked when some of his cream spilled on her shoulders, and when she licked his cream off, Junichiro's mind went into overdrive thinking of the potential sloppy toppies that could follow. Then, they went back to playing like little brats in the water, and as they did, Junichiro began to see Tomo in a different light. Later, on the trip back home, Misuzu noticed that Junichiro was troubled by Tomo and had started seeing her as a woman. During the summer break, Carol and Misuzu spent a night at Tomo's house where they played a game called The King's Game. Carol, during her turn, pulled the king's straw and ordered Tomo to do an impression of Misuzu. However, Tomo was afraid of her and declined, prompting Carol herself to make a flawless impression of Misuzu. This made Tomo laugh at Misuzu, so when it was Misuzu who pulled the king's straw, she ordered Tomo to go to a fireworks festival alone with Junichiro the next day. That night, Tomo went to Junichiro's house to ask him out to the festival, but he only agreed when he found out that Misuzu and Carol would not be coming. Tomo at this point realized that he was not as excited as he had been for the previous festivals they had attended. On their way home, Carol angered Misuzu when she pointed out that Junichiro and Tomo might end up as a boring couple. Meanwhile, Junichiro had suppressed his excitement earlier, and while he was at home, he remembered when Tomo had confessed her feelings for him and wondered if she still felt the same way. At Tomo's home, Misuzu remembered when Tomo had told her she had feelings for Junichiro, and Misuzu had suggested she should be more feminine. However, Misuzu noted that despite Tomo trying her best, it did not seem to work, and she wondered if she had given her the right advice. On the day of the fireworks festival, Junichiro left the house anxious but decided to find out how he felt about Tomo. When he saw her dressed in a kimono later that evening, he was stunned by how hot she looked. At the festival, even their usual shop vendor failed to recognize her, until Junichiro pointed out that she was Tomo. He was so stunned that he took some pictures of her and shared them in their vendor group. The other vendors were shocked that Tomo, who used to be a violent tomboy, could be a cute baddie. However, Tomo still emptied their stores by beating their games, just as she used to do. Elsewhere at the festival, Misuzu was hanging out with Carol and Masaki, who were holding hands. When she asked about it, Masaki pointed out that Carol was a scatterbrain who easily went missing. Later, as the festival continued, Tomo mistook a random filler character for Junichiro. Seeing that she was alone, the stranger asked her to join him and his friend. However, Junichiro appeared and took her away from the Randy Horn dogs. After the romantic gesture, Tomo tried to thank him, but Junichiro apologized for rescuing her like a pretend boyfriend. This angered Tomo, who gave him a punch and told him to let her thank him properly. After feeding him a knuckle sandwich, she thanked him for rescuing her. As she did, Junichiro's plot thickened because he realized that she looked so cute, and without thinking, he walked forward to hug her, but suddenly stopped himself. As they went to watch the fireworks, Tomo was worried that he had been acting odd and finally concluded that maybe he had finally started seeing her as a woman. Meanwhile, Misuzu noticed Tomo and Junichiro, but just as she was about to meet them, Carol made her angry when she stopped her and told her to leave them alone for the night. Just before the fireworks were to begin, Tomo decided to confess her feelings to Junichiro again, hoping that this time he would understand. However, she changed her mind and decided to do it when she felt the time was perfect. Later that night, as they went home, Tomo thanked Junichiro for the day. While he still had not figured out his feelings for her, he realized that unlike before, he could never bring himself to fight a shoddy like her ever again. When school resumed, Tomo complained that Junichiro had begun to creep her out by acting carefully around her, like she was a Fabergé egg, and that instead of punches, he would lightly tap her. This news did not sit well with Misuzu, who, during class, began to plan how she would set them up together. That day after school, a bully from year 3 noticed Misuzu and went to confront her with his goons. However, when she stared at them like a soulless ghoul, they were scared to approach her. Just then, Carol appeared, and the bully asked if she was Misuzu's friend. Misuzu lied to protect Carol, telling them that she did not know her, but in that moment, Carol pulled out a taser and shocked the bully. Misuzu took the chance and ran away with Carol to an abandoned building. However, when she saw that the bully's goons were still searching for her, she called Junichiro for help, but made him promise not to tell Tomo. Meanwhile, after the call, Junichiro told Tomo that he had to run an errand, but she stopped him because he looked like he was about to delete someone. Junichiro told her what had happened and tried to act macho and go alone. However, she reminded him that they were her friends as well. This reminded Junichiro of the type of selfless person she was. Meanwhile, Masaki overheard their conversation and was worried because Carol was in danger as well. At the abandoned house, the bully finally found where Carol and Misuzu were hiding. But just then, an angry Tomo appeared and grabbed the bully by the head. Junichiro began to fight them when she stopped him and told him that she would handle them. At that point, Masaki arrived, and when he saw that she had everything under control, he went looking for Carol. He found Carol changing and thought the bully had diddled her. This sent Masaki into beast mode, and when he returned and found the bully with Junichiro and Tomo, he crashed out. He was about to send the bully to the Shadow Realm, but Misuzu told Carol to explain. When she told him that she had just been changing, he calmed down and shyly took Carol away, who was happy because Masaki looked like a Giga Chad at that moment. After this, Misuzu told Tomo and Junichiro to leave her alone with the bullies because she wanted to have a chat with them. After they had left, the goon squad began acting cocky, but just before they jumped her, she calmly asked them if they knew Goro Aizawa from the Aizawa dojo and revealed that Tomo was his only daughter. This terrified them because Tomo's dad was a legend among delinquents. Misuzu then threatened them that they would be sent back to the lobby if anything happened to Tomo or any of their friends, and that their main goal in life from then on was to protect her and her friends. After she had made them wet their pants, she left the building and found Junichiro, who had waited and overheard her threaten the group. He told her that she was an evil cartoon villain to have threatened them like that. However, Misuzu did not mind, and pointed out that she had to protect her friends from these lowlifes. The next day, when Junichiro came to walk Tomo to school, he did not tap her gently but firmly held her shoulder, which made her excited as she ran down the street happily. Before all this, when Masaki was younger, his mother had introduced him to Carol. Masaki had never seen any girl as beautiful as she was, and called her an angel. Presently, he joined Aizawa's dojo and told Tomo's father that he wanted to become stronger. However, her father saw that beneath that handsome face, he was unhinged and had anger issues, but still decided to teach him. Soon, he began strength training with Tomo and Junichiro, but compared to him, They were monsters. That very first day, Junichiro challenged him to a spar, and Misaki made the mistake of saying he wanted Tomo to notice him. This made Junichiro angry because he thought he wanted to steal his girl. During the spar, Junichiro revealed that getting someone to acknowledge you required years of effort before knocking his lights out. When he woke up, he met Tomo, who, to his surprise, guessed that he wanted to become stronger to protect Carol. He confirmed this and told Tomo that Carol was all beauty and no brains, and because of this, she always got into trouble, and so he had to step up. Some days later, while they walked home, Carol asked Misaki why he looked so manly recently. He told her that he had been training at Aizawa's dojo so that he could catch up to Tomo. This made her upset, but she gave him another chance and asked how he felt about Tomo. Misaki instantly failed the vibe test and began to glaze Tomo, telling Carol he wanted to be strong enough to stand at Tomo's side. The next day, Carol decided to go scorched earth and asked Junichiro to go out with her to the park. However, Misuzu overheard this and confronted her, but Carol warned her to skedaddle. At the park, Junichiro told Carol that hanging out here was boring and suggested that she should go and have fun with Tomo and Misuzu, but she told him that she was fighting with them and instead they should go to his room. Later that day, Junichiro took her to his room and regretted it immediately because she was not Tomo. However, she confided in him and told him that she liked Misaki, but it was not working out because his lazy behind could not act fast regarding Tomo. She then told him that she would mess with him and stunned bro by kissing his cheek. Then she mounted him like a horse and was about to give him a wild ride, but Junichiro wondered if she had gone crazy and became scared. When she saw this, she teased him and told him that he probably liked sausages, which was why he had not made a move on Tomo. Added that Tomo would be better off with a man who appreciated her chest size. Junichiro fell for the bait and left to see Tomo, and as soon as she opened the door, he hugged her. However, he still could not see her as a girl and kept remembering the promise he had made to fight her. Just then, Carol scared Junichiro into Tomo's arms when she suddenly appeared to apologize for teasing him, and then she left them alone. The next day at school, she apologized to Misuzu for being rude. However, Misuzu was more interested in how Misaki took the news of her pretend date with Junichiro. Carol then told her that he only made a weird face, even when she told him that Junichiro had almost rearranged her guts with his wet cannon. Misuzu, hearing the pathetic story, decided to help her get together with Misaki. Later that day, Misuzu met up with Misaki and straight up asked him how he felt about Carol. He shyly admitted that he was in love with her, but this made her angry, and she asked him why he had declined Carol's feelings if he was in love with her. He told her that unlike him, Carol was always smiling and masking her real emotions, and sometimes he did not know how she felt and worried that if he asked her out, it would affect the relationship later on. Misuzu, however, understood his point because Carol was hard to read sometimes due to her constant smile. She then cooked up a plan that would make Misaki see that Carol's feelings were genuine. When she got back to class, Carol asked her how it went. Misuzu then told her that Misaki was not interested in her, did not even see her as a girl, and was actually relieved when she had made a move on Junichiro. However, Misuzu's plan worked too well, as Carol ran out of the class and immediately went home. She then ran to Misaki's class to tell him that she had overdone it and asked for his help. Misaki, in a panic, ran to Carol's house where, at the door, her mother gave him a headbutt for hurting her daughter's feelings. When he got to her room, he found her crying for the first time in his life. This made him sad, so he knelt to apologize, but Carol attacked him with her pillows until he told her that what Misuzu said was a lie. He then revealed that Misuzu did what she did to push him. Then, he held her cheek and confessed that he was in love with her, a confession that made Carol very happy because she told him she had been in love with him since they were young. Just then, Carol wanted to make up for lost time and began a kissing session with him. However, her mother appeared and interrupted a potential backbreaking event. Afterwards, she told Misaki that she was the one who trained her daughter to always smile despite the problems she might be facing, but she was worried that love would change her. However, Misaki assured her that he would protect her, and also pointed out that Carol had friends who would look out for her. This relieved her mother, who told him that she would trust him. The next day at school, Tomo and Misuzu were worried that Carol would not show up. However, she pulled up wearing a bunny head. Just as Misuzu was worried she had come to murk her for what she said the previous day, Carol removed the bunny head, kissed her, and thanked her for the help with Misaki. A few days later, Tomo's school held a marathon event. Before the race started, Tomo and Junichiro made a bet that the loser would buy drinks for a week, even though the boys and girls were running through different routes. When the race started, Tomo and Junichiro had already made everyone eat their dust. However, when they reached the point where she should have turned to the girls' path, Tomo refused because she wanted to beat Junichiro on the boys' track. After they had run a lap and Tomo was in the lead, Junichiro decided to go all out and outrun her, but as soon as he did, she fell to the floor like a sack of potatoes. When Junichiro saw her lying there, he stopped, and after examining her, discovered she had a fever. She then told him that she had run all through the cold night to practice and had fallen asleep in the bathroom. Junichiro began to panic because they were far from the teachers, but he soon manned up and carried her on his back. When Tomo woke up, she found Carol in her bed and Misuzu at her bedside. Misuzu was terrified because Tomo was as strong as a mountain goat and never fell ill. Misuzu then told her that it was Junichiro who had carried her on his back to the school's clinic, and made her blush when she added that Junichiro had still won the race with her on his back. Just then, Junichiro came to check on her, so Misuzu had to leave them. Before she did, she advised Tomo to act like a defenseless, sick damsel. After they had gone, Junichiro offered her some water and told her he had never really seen her sick. He then told her that her mom was coming to pick her up and take her home for the day. However, Tomo decided to take Misuzu's advice and asked Junichiro to carry her, like he did when she had fainted. He was surprised because she looked better, but she insisted that she had not fully recovered and could not walk. When he carried her on his back, he realized that her chest had grown. After dropping her off at her mom's car, she thanked him for helping her, but he reminded her that she would have done the same for him. Just then, her dad came charging through the street like a raging bull looking for her, but Junichiro told him that her mom had taken her to the hospital. Her dad then continued running like a madman. The next day, Junichiro came to visit her at home and was not surprised when she told him that she had recovered. Then she returned his Game Boy and reminded him of the promise he made that he would take it back when he was stronger. Years ago, before all this, Junichiro had just joined the dojo and finally managed to land a blow on Tomo during a spar. He began to celebrate like he had won the lottery. Tomo's dad, however, congratulated him and told him that Tomo had to follow a different path than he did, which he did not understand. Meanwhile, Junichiro and Tomo had just begun junior high, and Junichiro, who thought Tomo was a boy, began to wonder how he would look in his uniform. Unfortunately, Bro was shook when he found Tomo wearing a skirt. Later that day, Tomo was so embarrassed because for years her crush had thought she was a guy. Misuzu advised her to stop acting like a bro around him and behave like a lady. Elsewhere, Junichiro began to connect the dots and realized he had never seen Tomo's magic stick, and how she freaked out whenever he stripped. Just then, a classmate shocked him when he asked if he was dating Tomo. Junichiro went to see Tomo because he had mixed emotions. But when he got to her class, he overheard her telling some guys who had asked if they were dating that Junichiro wasn't her boyfriend because he had never once seen her as a girl. This made him angry, and he stopped talking to her for a whole year, but he still went to train at her dojo and did some occasional light stalking. However, Misuzu was not happy that Tomo and Junichiro's friendship had ended that way, so she went to speak with him to fix their friendship. After she scolded him for ignoring Tomo for a whole year, Junichiro stunned her when he asked her to be his girlfriend. Misuzu accepted his proposal, but as they walked home that day, she told him that she knew he didn't have feelings for her and that this pretend relationship was just an experiment. Then she asked him to hold her hand to see what it felt like. When Junichiro got home, he tried to picture Misuzu in a romantic light but could not quite see it, and Misuzu, on the other hand, was not really feeling his riz. The next day, Junichiro made her ride a bike for 2 hours just to see the mountainside, which pissed her off. Soon she began to see that all the fun activities Junichiro had planned were better suited for someone like Tomo, who had crazy high energy. The next day at school, Tomo asked her if she had spent the night jumping on sausages because she looked so tired. Misuzu didn't want to tell her she was dating Junichiro, but Tomo pulled her out of the classroom to talk. Misuzu then confided in her, telling her that she felt bothered because she wasn't an athletic person like Tomo. The next day, Misuzu went to break up with Junichiro because she couldn't keep up with his high energy lifestyle. But before she could do so, Junichiro, to her surprise, beat her to it. Junichiro later went to speak with Tomo, but she was angry with him and walked away. He decided to walk home with her. As they walked, Tomo punched him because she had called his name, but he had been deep in his thoughts. She confronted him and began to tear up, asking why he had ignored her for a year. Junichiro felt like a fool and apologized, but she punched his gut again and asked for an explanation. Junichiro told her that people thought they were dating since they were always together, and he didn't want them to. Get the wrong idea. However, Tomo told him she didn't care what people thought and asked Junichiro what he wanted. He then hit her with some accidental riz when he said he wanted to be her friend forever. Now, in the present, Junichiro, who still hadn't sorted out his feelings, was getting ready to go to school when he met Tomo standing at the gate. At that moment, he thought she looked very cute. Some days later, Tomo told Misuzu that she wanted to get a job so she could buy a present for Junichiro's birthday, which was close. Misuzu, however, told her that she would get a job alongside her because Tomo had the brain of a gorilla and might punch her boss. Meanwhile, Carol overheard the conversation and asked to join them. But before they could accept, Tanabe, who had been eavesdropping, invited them to come and work with him. After school, Tanabe took them to his family's ramen shop and introduced them to his dad, a fatso who sadly explained that he usually ran the restaurant with Tanabe and his wife, but his wife had gone to visit her family. After they were hired, the girls had to wear the maid costumes that Tanabe had bought to satisfy his maid fetish. As they complained, Misuzu told them to suck it up and start working. Soon, the ramen shop opened, and the first customer came in. Tomo went to take his orders but was too anxious, so Misuzu had to step in and even rizzed the dude. This shocked Tomo and Carol, who were used to her being a cold-hearted rhymes with witch. In the meantime, Carol fumbled her serving duties, so Tomo and Misuzu told her to go outside and be the poster girl for the shop. Sometime later, Tanabe decided to try his luck with Misuzu again, and called her his family's waifu. However, Misuzu threatened to slay his dragon if he ever said it again. Meanwhile, a crowd of gooners and lechers had gathered outside around Carol, and were taking spicy photos of her in a maid's dress. Just at that moment, Junichiro walked into the ramen shop and was surprised to see Tomo dressed in a maid's costume. As they stared at each other in shock, Tanabe appeared and was about to explain, but Misuzu came up and led Junichiro to a table. After Misuzu had taken Junichiro away, Tomo angrily confronted Tanabe, asking why Junichiro had shown up at the shop. Tanabe then explained that Junichiro was a regular who came once a week. On the other hand, Misuzu tried to tease Junichiro about Tomo looking hot in a maid's dress. However, Junichiro told her that he liked it, and even told Tomo when she came to serve him some ramen. After he had eaten, he told Tomo that he would come back the next day. This got her so excited that she began to dance like a circus monkey. Just then, Carol lured in a zombie horde of thirsty lechers who were attracted to the shop by her chest, and soon the girls began to work very hard at the shop. 3 days later, Tanabe's dad thanked them and paid them, with Tomo noticing that he had added more cash to their paycheck. As they came out of the shop, Tomo saw that Junichiro had been waiting for them. Carol and Misuzu dipped and gave them some time together. As they walked home, Tomo asked Junichiro why he had come every day for the 3 days she had worked. He revealed that he was worried that Tomo might smack her boss or do something brain dead. This made Tomo angry because he literally thought she was King Kong, but then he added that he also wanted to eat ramen that she had made. On his birthday, Tomo gifted him a watch, which got him excited, especially when she showed him hers and they realized they were twinning. Then she asked if he was going to throw a party at his house. Junichiro, however, told her that it would be better if they did it at her place. Later that day at school, Tomo asked Misuzu for more advice because she wanted to seal the deal with Junichiro. Misuzu then told her to let him motorboat her chest or kiss him. Soon, the two nutjobs began to plan how they would push Junichiro down the stairs into Tomo's arms. Just then, Junichiro, unaware of the death by Snoo they had planned for him, walked down the stairs. Misuzu then pushed him down the stairs straight toward Tomo's chest. However, at the last minute, Junichiro awakened Ultra Instinct and avoided falling into her. Unfortunately, Carol appeared behind Tomo, and Junichiro landed on the ground with his hand on her chest balloons. This got him flustered, and after apologizing, he told her to punch him. Carol promptly left that task to Tomo. Later that day, Misuzu regretted that she had suggested such an extreme idea that could have hurt Junichiro. However, karma was a bee and struck, and she fell down the stairs too, but fortunately she fell on Tanabe. He immediately got flustered because she had fallen close to his sausage packet. Misuzu then shocked him when she thanked him and told him to ask her for any reward. Tanabe began thinking of the dirtiest thing he could ask her, but when he noticed she was getting impatient, settled for her phone contact. When she returned to class, Carol asked why she looked so down. She told her that all the ideas she had given Tomo had only made things worse. However, Carol told her that this was not her fault, because she genuinely wanted Tomo to be happy. The next day, Tomo noticed that Misuzu was not in school, which led Carol to tell her that Misuzu had taken a sick day. During class, their monitor announced that their class was selected to play Cinderella at the cultural festival. 3 days later, Misuzu still had not been to school and was at home thinking about Tomo and Junichiro like a Greek philosopher when Tomo came to see her. Misuzu, however, was very cold to Tomo, who did not understand why she had not been in school and had come to see if she was sick. Tomo then realized that Misuzu was avoiding her, gave her the script for the Cinderella play, and before she left, told Misuzu to stop overthinking things. After she had left, Misuzu picked up the playbook and was stunned when she discovered she was to play Cinderella. The next day at school, Misuzu came to class and asked who had brought up her name for the role. When she found out it was Carol, she stretched her cheeks as punishment. Just then, Junichiro came in and tried to tease her, but they made fun of him because his role in the play was a tree. At the play rehearsals, Misuzu realized that her classmates were wooses who were scared of her, so she took Tomo to the roof to help her learn her lines, since Tomo's role was that of the prince. Tomo struggled with her lines, but when Misuzu told her to speak normally, she began to say her lines with such riz that Misuzu folded. While they were trying to rehearse, Tomo revealed that she was worried because she believed that she could never be picked to play a princess, only a prince because no one saw her as a girl. At this point, Misuzu began to regret the original advice she had given Tomo when she had asked her to be more feminine, because it had affected Tomo negatively. Some days later, Tomo wore the princess costume and had the girls screaming like prime Michael Jackson on a Saturday afternoon, because she looked like a handsome Giga Chad. However, her inflatable balloon that she had suppressed with a binder released itself, which got everyone panicking. Meanwhile, Misuzu, who looked like she had stepped out of a fantasy movie, was worried about Tomo. Junichiro, who was dressed up like a tree, noticed her mood and told her that she should just suck it up and confide in Tomo. This advice made her push him to the floor. Later that day, as Junichiro and Tomo went home, she asked Junichiro to help her practice her lines, but he told her that he did not want to act as Cinderella. Soon, she began to fantasize about him as a princess. They then went to a local shrine where she realized practicing her lines with him was actually fun. At the cultural festival, Tomo's, Misuzu's, and Carol's mothers were waiting for the play to start. Misuzu's mom complained about how Misuzu had told her the festival wasn't happening because she was too embarrassed, and Misuzu's mom proved her right when she brought a camera, planning to film the whole thing. The play started soon after, with Tanabe narrating the Cinderella story. Misuzu, who was playing Cinderella, looked like she wanted to delete everyone with a butcher's knife. However, when Carol came out playing the wicked stepmother, Her mom almost brought the roof down, cheering. Meanwhile, Junichiro was enjoying his very important role as a tree head, front row seats to Misuzu's pathetic acting. Soon Tomo appeared, obviously playing the handsome prince and making all the female fans in the audience scream like dogs in heat. Misuzu came out actually looking decent, and they both danced with Tree Junichiro simping in the background. Prince Tomo identified Misuzu as the glass slipper owner, and Carol forgot she was supposed to be wicked and started cheering, along with the two students playing Misuzu's stepsisters. After the play, Tree Junichiro got too excited and asked Tomo to walk through the festival with him. Tomo agreed, but told him to change back into his regular clothes first. Later, at a cafe, Misaki's squad gave Tomo coffee and cake, while clearly wanting Tomo's cake for themselves, and then almost threw Junichiro's coffee at him, angry because he was the one getting Tomo's attention. Then they went to the haunted house, where Tomo almost killed a ghost out of fear. Later they played some soccer, with Tomo annihilating Junichiro. And then later in the evening, at a bonfire, some students surrounded Tomo, asking her to dance with them. Junichiro, however, had to shoo them all away so he could ask Tomo to dance with him. Meanwhile, Misuzu watched everyone dancing and got jealous. She was about to go somewhere to cry until Carol stopped her. Misuzu wanted to thank Carol, thinking Carol got her the Cinderella role so she could make up with Tomo. She then found out Carol did it just to get gooner material of her. While Tomo and Junichiro were dancing, Tomo told Junichiro how people could get the wrong idea when he asked her to dance. Junichiro, unable to control himself, embarrassed Tomo by telling her they wouldn't be wrong, so Tomo had to run for her life. The next day, Junichiro was heading to school when Tomo tackled him like a sumo wrestler. When Junichiro tried to bring up what had happened the previous day, she ran off. At school, Carol, who was pestering Misuzu when Tomo arrived, asked where Junichiro was, but Tomo dodged the question and noped out of there. Meanwhile, Junichiro was walking through school when he linked up with Misaki, who could tell something was wrong and asked Junichiro what was bothering him. Junichiro told him he had feelings for Tomo and asked for advice. Misaki, however, told him to tell her how he felt and be direct. Junichiro took this to heart, but thought he had to do some things first, like a ritual. He went to Misuzu to apologize for liking Tomo when they were dating. Misuzu crashed out and told him to forget his apology because they never really dated. They talked for a bit more, and when Junichiro wanted to leave, Misuzu asked him if she was his first love. Junichiro remembered how he had initially been infatuated with Tomo's mom's balloons, and sadly told her no. Misuzu got back at him, saying she wasn't in love with him either, and he left frustrated. In class, Tomo checked her desk to find a letter challenging her to a fight on the rooftop. She was so excited to beat someone up that she ran all the way there. However, it was Junichiro who told her he didn't think she was dumb enough to believe it. Tomo knew she couldn't run from him anymore and accepted her fate when Junichiro told her to hit him. She asked him why in utter confusion. He talked about how when she confessed to him before, he knew she didn't mean it as just friends. He admitted to being too scared to accept her feelings. This got her so pissed that she punched him and sent him flying. She stared him down and was about to walk away when Junichiro yelled out that he was in love with her, and she responded by calling him a dumbass and walking out. Back in her class, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to hide under the ground. Her friends tried to console her, but she kept asking what if she had screwed everything up. Misuzu gave her some words of encouragement and told her to go to him. When Tomo ran to look for Junichiro, Misuzu talked about how love was nice, though she lamented that she didn't have anyone who loved her. Carol then hugged her again to try to console her. Meanwhile, Tomo caught up with Junichiro and confronted him about his feelings. She asked if he was sure since they wouldn't be best friends anymore if they went out. Junichiro had trouble deciding, so he suddenly ran up the stairs of a temple. Tomo took off after him and beat him up until he said that he wanted them to be a couple, but didn't want the way things were to change. Tomo was so moved that she told him she loved him too, which got Junichiro lightheaded, and he fell down the stairs. Tomo then tried to help him, hoping he wasn't dead. Junichiro woke up and cheered as if he had just won the lottery. Some days later at school, Tomo told Jun that she wanted to hang out with Misu and Carol and wouldn't be able to walk home with him that day. Later at a restaurant, she told them that although Jun now saw her as a girl, he wasn't flustered like a dude who was in love. Carol then suggested that she should kiss him, and Misu even recommended that they go and see a spicy movie called No Kiss No Life that was full of suckface action. Some days later, when they met at the movie hall, Tomo had pulled up dressed like an Instagram baddie, making Jun's cannon harden when he saw her. She then asked how she looked and Bro rizzed her up, telling her she looked really good. However, when he saw the movie poster Tomo had suggested that they should see, he was flustered because the movie was about kissing. When the movie started, Tomo remembered Misu's advice that she should hold Jun's hands when the kissing scene came on. However, the movie showed a cultured footage that flustered her so badly she forgot the game plan. On the other hand, Jun actually watched the entire thing without flinching. After the movie, Tomo was worried that Jun did not fold when he saw the movie because he was a closet creep. But then Jun told her that he used to see romance as cringe, but because he was in love with her, he decided to give it a chance. Afterwards, he gave her some earrings as a Christmas present, and surprisingly, she shyly gifted him a muffler in return, which he promptly wore. As they headed home, Tomo decided that she wanted to get even closer to Jun and make him like her more, so she told him she wanted to go to his room. Jun was surprised because it was late, but she held him and insisted. In his room, they sat down awkwardly, not knowing what to say to each other. Just then, Jun suggested that they play video games, but Tomo declined and then woke up his rocket when she asked him if she could sit next to him. However, after Bro didn't make a move, Tomo crashed out and told Jun that she actually came here for some tongue-on-tongue action and wanted some now. This confession sent him into overdrive, and when he grabbed her, she began to blush and thought Jun was about to give her the Suck Suck 3000. Suddenly, he punched himself to her surprise and told her that although he wanted to whip her with his magic stick and fondle her balloons, they weren't dating yet. Tomo then angrily asked why he hadn't asked her to be his girlfriend, which made him reveal that he had gone to ask for her parents' blessings. Her mother had agreed, but her dad had asked him to defeat him in a spar before he could accept Jun. This made Tomo so angry that she went home and confronted her father, and when he couldn't give her a good answer for why he had challenged Jun, she told him that she hated him. The next day was New Year's Day, and Carol and Misu met up at a shrine. However, they did not meet Tomo and thought Jun had done something to make her mad. Meanwhile, Jun went to see her on New Year's Day, but her mother told him that she had refused to see anyone, and even joked that he could fight her dad now, because he was in low spirits after Tomo had yelled at him. The next day, when school resumed, Jun met Tomo and told her that she wouldn't have to wait for long before he fought her dad, because fighting him was a life goal of Jun. But then Tomo punched Jun because she knew he was being unrealistic. When she got to class, she was cornered by Misu and Carol, whom she had ignored during the winter break, and so explained what had happened the last few days. However, Misu told her that it would be stupid if she let two dumb guys decide how her life would turn out. After school, Jun then told her that he would challenge her dad that day. Later at the dojo, Jun sneaked and attacked her gorilla of a dad with a punch, but Dude had ultra instinct and dodged. Jun then told him that he had brought a secret weapon that might help, and just then Tomo's mom appeared, which flustered her dad. Elsewhere in another dojo, Tomo was thinking about the fight, and was about to send Misaki to the lobby when she finally came to. She then confided in him about the fight between Jun and her dad. Misaki simply told her that it would help Jun if she were there to cheer him up. Tomo immediately abandoned practice and ran faster than Barry Allen to her dad's dojo, even running past Misu and Carol. Meanwhile, Jun had eaten some knuckle sandwiches from her dad, but still refused to give up. Just then, her dad had kicked him away like a discarded paper towel, and when he landed, he found Tomo watching him. She then suggested that if he lost like a girl, she would challenge her old man and fight for their love herself. This made Jun lock in because he did not want Tomo to wear the pants in their relationship. Soon Jun and her dad began throwing hands like Saiyans, but her dad had sadly read all his moves like a book. Jun then decided that he would act like Tomo and fight recklessly without fear for his life. So he then charged at her dad again, and this time barely dodged a punch from that would have made him special needs, and followed up with his own that knocked her dad's candle out. Unfortunately, her dad instantly recovered, which annoyed Akemi, who smacked him, but then he told Jun that his hand had touched the ground, so Jun had won the round. Tomo was so excited that she jumped on Jun and began celebrating like a gorilla by choking him out. Later, when he got ready to go, Tomo decided to confess again. However, Jun interrupted her and told her he was in love with her and asked her to be his girlfriend. Tomo was angry that he had beaten her to it, and then kissed him, which meant she had officially accepted his proposal, and they were now dating. Then she began to glaze and tell him he looked super cool when he had beaten her dad just then. Thank you for watching, and if you made it to the end, comment who your favorite character was and don't forget to like and subscribe.